So as we mentioned in the first module, two core ingredients to showcase our knowledge: confidence and skill. For this module, we're going to focus on the confidence element. How do we build that confidence to be able to speak up? I have spent so many years working with people, coaching people who are non-native English speakers, who are speaking English in global organizations. And the common thing that I hear is people saying, oh, my English isn't good enough. I'm not good at English. And I have to say, in every single case, their English was good enough. Could it have got better? Yes. Can my English get better? Yes. So we're not looking for perfection. We're always looking for progress. And when it comes to learning and presenting and having that confidence to do that, it's vital that our self-talk, the story we tell ourselves, is a good one, full of opportunity, full of potential, and the belief that it's good enough at the moment and we can get better. One of the key areas to start is looking inside our own mind and the words we use to describe ourselves. So if, for example, I am saying, I'm not good at English, if I have to speak in English and present in English, I'm already going to feel nervous. If I say I'm not good at presenting, when I'm putting in an environment where I have to present, I am going to feel nervous. So that key self-talk is vital. I often hear people say, I'm not a confident person, which I find really interesting. When I ask my clients when I'm working face-to-face, after about 30 minutes of talking on stage, I'll often invite them to use words that they would use to describe me. And the one word that gets repeated over and over and over is, Darren, you are a confident person. But I have to tell you, I'm not a confident person. And here's why. It's a very simple sentence. A person is not their behavior. And that's really, really important for us to recognize. When people say, Darren, you're a confident person, that is never, ever true. But I can display confident behavior in some environments. But when that environment changes, my ability to access confident behavior also changes. If we are in an unfamiliar environment, it is harder for us to access the right behavior that we may be able to access in comfortable or similar or familiar environments. So for example, if I walk into a room and it's full of snakes, scorpions, tigers, lions, spiders, there is no way I'm going to be able to access confident behavior. But if I'm in a training room and I am delivering a program I've delivered many, many times, I'm going to be better able to access that confident behavior. So a person is not their behavior, which means that when you say you're not a confident person, what you really mean is you're not confident in what you're about to do yet. But the more we do something, the more we expose ourselves to environments, guess what? Our ability to access confident behavior increases. Let's take a look at a very, very simple model to highlight this. And this is what we call the iceberg model. You may have seen this in other training, and I'm very happy to showcase it to you again, because I think it's the one model that really helps us understand how our behavior is linked to our thoughts. So as we look at the iceberg, at the top of the iceberg, the white part, you can see what we call the behavior. Now, as a human being, of course, we live above the surface. So when we're looking at an iceberg, we can only really see between 5, 10, 15, 20, maybe 30% of the whole iceberg. And when people are judging us, they're not judging us, they're judging our behavior. And that's only a small part of who we are as a human being. So our behavior includes what we say, it includes how we say it includes our dress code, it could even include things like our job title, but it's what we call that observable behavior. Now, how we behave impacts the results that we get. Now, if we are getting great results, whatever we are doing in our life, it's because we are behaving in a way that is supporting those results. So if we are getting good presentation results, we are behaving, we're moving with our body language, we are saying the right words, we're saying it in the right way. And that is great. But where does our behavior come from? Well, for that, we have to go below the surface. And the first part of what drives our behavior is how we're feeling. So if we're feeling confident, it's going to show up in our behavior. If we're feeling nervous, it's going to potentially show up in our behavior. Now, what's really interesting, I have seen people who have said that they are feeling nervous, but when they present, guess what? Those nerves don't show. So there is a little bit of a filter between our feelings and our behavior. But if we want to feel confident, for that we have to go deeper below the surface. And in this metaphor and analogy that we're using, this is basically inside our mind. It's the thoughts and beliefs that we have about ourselves. So those thoughts, if I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this presentation is going to be terrible, I'm going to be awful, the audience are going to hate me, that's going to make me feel nervous, it's going to make me feel anxious. That means when I speak, I'm going to speak quickly, I'm going to miss out key data, and the results will be less than ideal. But if my thoughts are, I'm confident, I've got the data, I'm confident in myself, I'm not looking for perfection, I'm just looking to get this message across in the best way possible today. When I'm put into that environment, my feelings are going to be one of confidence, I'm going to believe in my ability, that's going to show up in my behavior, and the audience are going to be able to understand my message. So it's absolutely vital that we recognize that everything starts with a thought. Now, thoughts are not always true. And what I mean by that is we've often got these beliefs that are linked to our thoughts. Beliefs are the way that we see ourselves and the way that we see the world. Now, just because we're thinking it, it doesn't mean that it is true, which is why in the middle of a belief, you'll notice that there's a word, and it's a lie. Don't believe everything that you are thinking if your beliefs are not useful to you. Now, don't get me wrong, this doesn't mean that you can go to the top of a tall building and start singing, I believe I can fly, and then jump off, because that belief is not supported. But if you believe in your ability to grow, if you believe in your ability to learn, if you believe that it's okay not to be perfect, when you are put into an environment like presenting, you're going to feel more confident, and that will show up in your behavior, which will help support better results. And that's absolutely critical. One of the best ways to build belief in self is to actually do more presentations, feel the fear, and take action anyway. Because the more that we expose ourselves to these presentation environments, the more comfortable it will get. But what's really interesting is when that environment changes, our ability to access confident behavior can also change. I remember years ago, I'd been doing presentations, hundreds of times. And then I had to do my first presentation with a microphone. And I had about 80 people in the room, and the organizer gave me a microphone. And I'd never, ever held a microphone before. I'd always been able to speak from the stage in relatively small rooms. Suddenly, I found my nerves kicking in and my hand was shaking. In fact, at one point, I had to put my other hand over it just to stop my hand from shaking. And it really does show us that even if you've got one skill in one area, when the dynamic changes, that can impact your ability to look confident. But how did I get better at holding a microphone? I did more presentations, and that's my recommendation to you. If you take nothing else away, from this program, the more you do something and learn from it and get coaching and get feedback, the better you are going to get. So part of this is about that internal dialogue. On the left-hand side, we've got typical beliefs and thoughts that people may well have, and then we want to get you over to the right-hand side, which are more useful beliefs. So if you're saying to yourself, I'm not good at presenting, we want to shift that to, I am good enough and I'm capable of learning more. If your thoughts are, my English is not good enough, I want you to turn it to, my English is good enough and I can learn more. If you are thinking, oh, other people are better than me, I want you to focus on, I have my own strengths and I am unique in my own way of presenting, and that is good enough. And what you'll notice with this growth mindset is that we are moving from a fixed mindset to one of possibility and one of growth. Pay attention to your inner voice. What are you saying to yourself? What limiting beliefs do you have about your ability to present in front of others? And are those beliefs true? Have you tested those beliefs? And what beliefs would be more useful to you? And having that growth mindset is absolutely vital. So one way of doing this is recognizing that difference between the tip of the iceberg, which is what people see, and the stuff that goes on below the surface. I mentioned earlier that many people on my face-to-face classroom sessions have said they felt nervous, but the audience, including myself, don't see those nerves. And that's because of something we call the swan effect. Now, when we think of the swan effect, what words would you use to describe this animal? I mean, it's a beautiful swan, it's moving towards us. This was a video that I took, and I must admit, I got a bit scared at this point because it was getting closer, but this is a beautiful, elegant swan. And I don't know what words you'd use. There's some obvious words like it's a bird, or it's white, or it's swimming. But beyond that, you might use words like it's majestic, it's calm, it's serene, it's elegant, it's beautiful. Now, when we think about the swan above the surface, that's what we see. It's elegant, it's calm, it's serene. But below the surface, the legs are paddling furiously. But we don't see that. And when it comes to presenting, we are only making judgments about that tip of the iceberg. And if we can control that, irrespective of what's happening below the surface, the audience may not and probably won't see it. I can tell you now, most presentations that I have done, I have been nervous. And that's okay to be nervous, but it's how those nerves showcase to the audience. And if you can control your eye contact, your body language, your voice, all of which will show you as we move forward, then you will become like the swan, even if inside your head, your mind is going, oh my goodness, above the water, you're looking in control, and that is key.